Okay, day 16 of this Vauxhall Vivaro camper van conversion, and what we're doing today is putting the worktop in. I've given this another couple of coats of lacquer, sanded it down. That's all looking good. We just have a little bit of monkeying around to do in here to get the SMEV unit in. We need a hole here for the gas pipe to come through, and other than that it looks okay. I think that'll fit straight in there. So I'm going to drill this hole and get this little bit of detailing done here. Slide the worktop back in. Oops, sorry. That's looking good. And essentially I'm going to screw the worktop to the units through the various rails that we've put on here. But I'm going to do one end first and I'll clamp it all in. Alright, so I've got this corner fixed in and I've got this one clamped into place here. Now the idea is to get underneath here and screw the worktop in through these rails underneath the cabinets. Should be able to do that, there's plenty of space. Just a little bit awkward, obviously, got to lie down on my back and get these in from the underneath. So a little bit of a contortionist sort of activity, but here we go. Hold it really secure. Okay, whole lot of twisting later and we've got the worktop on, and that is secure. Very good. Next thing to do is to wire up and put the gas pipe in the SMEV unit and then fit it into this opening. Alright, now with this SMEV kit, there's quite a bit of stuff comes with it. We've got a bag full of stuff here, various bits and pieces. We've got the outflow for the sink, we've got the cold water pipe, we've got some gas tube, and we have the water pump. Now we want to put all of this together before we put it in the van. Obviously it's going to be much easier. So I think the first thing I'll do the water end first. So I'll put the tap on, put the drain thing on the sink, and then we will tackle the gas. So the first thing to do here is put this tap on, and that's going to sit about there. So round the back we have the connection for it here, and we have this washer and a plastic nut. So let's get this positioned properly first. I think that would want to be there. So put the washer on over the wires and over the inlet, and then the nut. And this should just tighten up really. Hand tighten it, then I'll position the tap correctly and then tighten it up with a spanner. Now to fit this cold water inlet pipe, I'm just going to put the tubing in some boiling water, just for a minute or two, and that will help it to get over the knuckles on this joint. So the boiling water will allow us to push that on very easily. There it is. Now Jubilee clip round that, tighten it up. Right, we've got the waste itself, we've got a small washer for it, we have the drain thing for inside, a plug, and the nut which ties all of that together. And with this one I've just got that there, and we'll screw it in from the inside. With that done, we now move on to the gas. The gas fittings for this, we have a through connector which is going to go on there. We have this piece of, I believe that'll be 8mm copper piping, which is going to come from here, go through into the next compartment, and then we have this to put on the end of it, which will take the gas tube. So we want to very gently unfurl this. Now I'm just going to go into the van and get some idea of how much of this we need. We won't need it all, that's for sure. So I've marked it, I'm saying it's about there. And I have this copper pipe cutter, which I will use to cut that piece off. As I say, first thing we want to do is get these two here connected, and then we will put this one on the end of it. Now, to do these gas connections, I've done quite a bit of plumbing work in the past, so I'm fairly confident about doing it. If you have one of these things, and if you're not confident about doing it, get someone who is, because this is gas and it does need to be done correctly. So first thing, what we've got here is the nut would go on, then the olive will go on, and then with this connection here, I'm just going to put some of this plumber's putty on, and this will make an excellent seal. Like that one to hold it, and then we will tighten this one up. And then we want our piece of pipe, same thing, we want the nut on, then the olive, that will go in there, and that will tighten up. Right, this side is going to come down through the cupboard, and it's this that we want to put on it. Now I think what I'll do, I'll put some of the rubber hosing on this first, because that will take a little bit of pressure to get it in, and if it's on first, then we're not disturbing this pipe trying to push it in. You with me? We've got the rubber tube on there, and this is the same thing. Just want to get plenty of this putty on these threads and pull them together. So to fit this in, I have these little cup things and screws, and we just need to drill a hole to take the cup through these various holes in the hob itself. So we want to square that up first, and this will be a hole here. I'll put this through and then go around the rest of them. So a couple in the middle here, and then same up the back line. Okay, so the SMEV is in. This is it here, looking good. A little tap there, plenty of sawdust. I'm going to hoover the whole of this van very soon, and this should be fine. Now underneath here, obviously we have our gas tube, we have the cold water, and we have the electrics for the water pump. So what I'm going to do at this point is fit in the water material, because I did notice in this kit I was expecting a gas regulator to come for the 907 bottle, but it didn't. So I'll have to nip out and buy one of them. Alrighty, so the first thing to do with the water here is to cut this water pipe to the correct length, which is there. Right, so that done, I'm going to put this funnel on here just to save it from splashing when it gets in the van, and then we can fit the pump to the bottom end of this tube. Now it's a really nice tight fit. I don't think I'll put a Jubilee clip on. There's a possibility that that may rust over time, but it's a very tight fit like that, so I think this will be a-okay. All good. So that one's going to sit just there, and the next thing we have is the electrics for this. So we have the wire from the fuse box, that's this one here, and I'm going to cut that and bare the ends of it. We want that about there. This is switched off, by the way. The breaker is thrown to the fuse box. Right, so we just want to bare these ends. And what we have here is our live from the fuse box, and that wants to go to the switch, which will be this one here. Now what I'm telling you, what I'm going to put them together with is these things. Very good. I put lights in with these as well. They're just like little clips, and the idea is you would clip that wire in there, and that's a really nice strong connection, and we will take the other side of that up and connect the live from the switch in there. Good. Now the live coming from the switch wants to connect to the live of the pump, and then the two neutrals will go together, and that should be good. And the way to test that, I've just put the power on, switched it on there, and we should just hear a whirring when we turn the tap, and that'll be the pump working. That's it. So that's all looking good. I'll tidy up this wiring, I'll bungee these tanks in. Oh sorry, I've got the waste to do on that as well. Alright, I'll put the waste in, and then I'm going to have to go and get a gas regulator. Alright, so the last thing to do in there with the water is just to put the waste on. Now I have found a Jubilee clip which will fit, which is good, and I've pushed that pipe on. We'll tighten that with the Jubilee clip. That's all good, and again we just want to cut that to size so it'll go into this tank here, either way around for that one I think. Let's have a look. We'll take that about there. It doesn't necessarily have to go right down to the bottom of the tank, so I'll just cut that there and see if that's a good fit. That will be fine. What I've done with that, I've just put a little block at the back here on the wall with a bungee through it, and we have the bungee here with a knot in, and that is going to this little lug thing that we put on earlier, and that will keep those water bottles nice and steady. There it is, and we'll have just enough room for the gas canister here. Okay, I've been out, I've got the regulator, this is good. Now I'm going to finish off this gas pipe work and then secure it all into the wall, but the first thing to do, I've got my jug of boiling water here. I'm going to cut a piece of this pipe and connect the regulator to this quick release valve for the bottle. So let's have a look, how much of that do we need? Not much actually, just a small tail, maybe take it to about there. Right, with that done, I'm going to pop it in the boiling water. We'll get it on the regulator first and then connect it up to the quick release. Okay, let me show you what I've done with that. If you can see it under here, I've got the copper pipe here. The rubber pipe is connected to it. In the middle we have the quick release valve, and then that's leading to the gas tank. The quick release valve is just if you want to get this bottle out, you have to screw the regulator off, and it's much easier to do that with the bottle outside of the cupboard. So we have a quick release valve which allows us to do that. And just to test that, we have this here, and we have a piezo ignition on this, and there's that one looking good, and it's the same with the other one, but you need both hands, so it seems to be working. What I'm going to do is hoover up in here. I'll take the masking tape off the tall cupboard over there, and we'll just give the place a clean up, and then we'll get on to the next phase of this. So having given this an initial clean, I've hoovered the majority of the stuff up. Obviously we'll get a very good clean before we are finished with it, but the next thing to do is to stick these doors back on. I've got these door fronts, drawer fronts and all that, and we're going to put them onto this cabinet, and they should go on fairly readily. The holes are already drilled, and it's going to be a simple matter of offering the door up and screwing it back on. Okay, we've got the door fronts on, and I think that's all looking pretty good. And one other thing I've got to do is just put this USB socket in. So I think I'll put the USB socket in now, I'll do the catches, and then we'll get the fridge in. Okay, so the first thing with the USB socket is to put the housing on, which should, the socket itself, this needs to attach to the wire, then that whole thing will screw into there. So I'll prep the wire up. We don't need that much of it, so we'll take that off there. And that off there. And this is the same thing. I'm going to use those little connection blocks on this. They seem to work very well. So we just want to strip the ends of that wire. And the same on this, the wires are a little bit excessive on this, so I shall snip some of them off. And then similarly just strip the ends of them. Okay, and if we switch that on, we have power here, 13.6 in the battery, and that will mean that the USB sockets are also live, and this one will be also. Alrighty, now the catches for these doors, fairly straightforward. You have the little eyelet which pops on, and then you have a screw on catch here, and we will just screw that all the way on. See it there? Very good. So there it is. So I'm just going to move along here and get all of these on, and then we'll move on to the bungee section of this. What's in here? I've got some epoxy resin, and I'm just going to mix that up. It's just put a very thin trace of that around here, and that will stop these from coming out when the bungee is getting pulled, etc. So just stick the first one in there. Alright, so to put the fridge in, first thing we want to do is wire it up. So I have these wires here. I have another couple of these little clip block things. Okay, and just to make sure we're good with this, with the wiring before we put it in, I'll whack it on at the wall, and that has sprung into life. So, pleased with that. If we put the power on, tell you the temperature of the freezer, temperature of the fridge, all looking good. So the very next thing we want to do is get it into the housing. This will be tight, but that's okay, tight is good. I'll just keep hold of those wires at the top, and we'll get it lined up. There we go. Put them in there. Right, so we just want to slide this in. As I say, it will be tight. Okay, there it is. We have the back line of the door lined up with the housing. That will allow it to open easily all the way. See, inside of these we have these lugs or covers which will just come off, and the idea is we put a screw through here, and that will hit the lugs that we put onto this housing whilst we were making it in the workshop. So I'm going to take them off, and they will want a pilot hole through them, and then just maybe a 30mm screw. Alrighty, so the fridge is in, looking good. Just one more thing to do on this side of the van. I've made this shelf which I'm going to put up about there, and that will just be handy for storage and things like that. So I'm going to measure from here to here, here to here, get it nice and square with the worktop, and then we'll screw it to the wall. Right, I've got that bottom bar on there, and we'll just put this top one on the same. There's just a couple of screws through either side. Okay, all looking good. Okay, so I've finished off this step detail, got this piece back in, I've got the door trim on. I actually put the old one back on because I tried the new one and it was a different dimension here, and I don't think it was making a good seal all the way around. So I managed to clean this one up and sort it out, and that looks pretty good on there. So that is indeed it for day 16. We have many things done here. We've got the fridge in, we've got the doors on, we've got the electrics done on this side, and indeed the electrics completed at this point. We've got this door detail on. The next thing to do is to put the rock and roll bed in here, and that will be day 17, and I think we'll complete at that point. A little bit more cleaning to do, but I'm saying 17-18 days, not that bad. Now, if you would like to see those last couple of videos and then indeed a full van tour, please do consider subscribing to the channel. If you've enjoyed the videos so far, do give it a thumbs up. Loads more to come in the future. I thank you very much for watching.